And we're live. On the internet.
I'm, I'm James, and
Joe.
this is Productivity and Procrastination, episode 39.
Sounds right. If it not, we'll be really embarrassed when the episode comes out.
Yes. Yes, we will be.
All right.
Oh,
What a week.
what a week.
What a week.
I don't know where to begin.
Well, let's start from the beginning. I was born
Okay.
in Nampa, Idaho.
I'm sorry.
19.
Is that even a real place?
Yes.
Oh. A bustling city it is. Is it not?
It is a metropolis. Some say it even rivals its sister city, Caldwell.
Legend is steeped in intrigue now.
Mythos and lore. um, but yeah, it was a strange week. Almost immediately after we ended the episode, everything went awry. It's like we ended the episode and then everything fell to shit.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. So, what do I even say about that? I mean, yeah. Did I had a lot of feeling bads in the last week. Ugh.
So, do you want to explain in your own words what happened? Or would you prefer I did?
I'll do a summary, and then you can do
Okay.
a better walkthrough from your side. I would say the summary is we did not have clear communication when we began this project. And because of that, misassumptions occurred. And which caused a cascade of problems. I guess that would be my summary of it. At least that's something that could have been fixed or could have solved the problem upright. Assumptions were made and communications were not happened. So
Yeah. So on my side, so that was a good summary. So what happened? I feel like we're dancing around it. What happened was, we were working on the
that's a
project.
personal issue, really. I mean,
It is, but we
and
always,
here we are,
Yeah.
But who cares? This is life,
This is
gonna.
how, yeah, yep. We have to describe it. We were working on the project, and me and James were both, James had. I didn't know in the beginning that James had a certain. Oh, let me just describe what happened. We were talking about stuff about the game. I suggested something. He wanted to go a different way, and then as he let me know that as game dev lead, that the buck stops with him, and so he's going to make the final decision at the end. And I didn't realize he was the game dev lead, and so I was like, "Huh, okay." So I went ahead and got lunch, and thought about it during that time. And a lot of my frustration came from about that. But I don't think I was like hostile about it, but I was definitely not. I was not pleased with that because I felt like I'm doing the art and the code for like someone else's game, where I wanted it to be our game, because for me a big part of the fun is game dev. And so I wasn't comfortable with having James as the solo game developer, or as the final word in. I didn't have comfortable with anybody being the final word in any parts of the project, because I think it takes two, at least in a game development area, where it's like we need to make sure that both parties are happy, or at least satisfied with what we've created. And it felt like, and this is going to sound mean, that James was trying to find his thing, because I was doing the art and the code, and so I was in charge of those, I think he assumed, and which is not a hard assumption to make. And I feel like he was trying to find what he was in charge of, or his contribution. Is that a fair assumption? Or is that a fair summary of what happened?
I would say that was a good summary of events. Yeah. The last part is the crux of the whole thing. Trying to find my thing. I would say that is your perspective. My perspective was it was my thing. I'll like assumed, but that was, as the larger game, which this was supposed to be a kind of like a summary of, I guess, in a way. This game was a summary of it. So since the larger game was, kind of my brainchild, I assumed that the summary was as well. As for trying to find my thing, I don't know. I always thought that when it comes down to game development ideas that are spawned from my ideas, I just assumed that I am the person who would be, if there was a problem or conflict that, that, and I disagree with the development as a concept that you brought up, which is kind of what I'm talking about, which is, I think that you have to have a vision to complete a project. You have to have something that can, when there's two conflicting things, you have to have an understanding that can weed through things that can stop you. and can change the game as a whole, or the project, or whatever it is as a whole. It is that vision. And just like earlier, days earlier, when we were talking about how the game would fundamentally, the attacks would work, and you brought up something that was completely conflicting to the way that I thought it should have been. I said so, and then you just kind of went along with that. I guess at that point it could have been that I made a strong enough point that you just agreed. But in my perspective, I thought I was basically doing exactly the same thing. Basically taking the lead and going, that isn't what this is. This is, the way that the vision is. And so we did not go that route. We did not entertain doing both. Like your solution was brought up, that from now on we would do every single idea. We would just do them both and like figure out what is the best. It was just, it was a decision was made and we were going to move on from that. So in my mind, I was just doing my role. I've been keeping track of the game document, which, needs to be done. That was just something I just did. Keep track of problems, generally organizing, the master document, and kind of trying to lead where we would next be programming, because I needed it to understand how other pieces would go down the chain of events. I had just been operating as if I was, now the lead of development. It doesn't necessarily mean that every idea is going to be done exactly the way that I have envisioned it. You do come up with stuff that I have to consider. It doesn't mean everything that goes through is like, oh, well, that's not, no, it's the consideration has to, but the vision is what it has to be filtered through. And so, maybe a little bit of your pride also is a part of this, because, there is not just in my mind, just the buck stops here kind of thing. It's just, it's just what, in my definition of a lead, somebody who is in charge of pushing this thing along and getting the general vision to fruition. Otherwise, there are 20,000 things we could disagree with what makes a good game, probably. There has to be a cohesive hegemony, through the project, that binds it all together, makes it seem like a world that exists within themselves that makes sense. So to me, I had that. That's always what I've been working on doing with anything. And I just assumed that was my role. And it was an assumption that we did not talk about. That was my mistake, and a lot was said, and I'm sorry about a lot of the feelings parts of everything. I don't think
we said anything to each other that was, like, hurtful.
Well, if we did, I'm sorry for it, because I did.
Yeah. Oh, same.
I did say things that I regret. So.
Yeah. But I didn't feel like anything you said was hurtful or lashing out or anything. At least not that I can remember.
Well, I felt like when you sent me some game ideas that a certain first two was a summary of what you thought of me.
What?
If you reread that, you may get what I mean.
No. There's a game called the Goose Game. I've told you about this game where you play as a goose and you're a little asshole, and you run around and honk at people and steal keys and
Yeah, but the way you phrased it made it sound like you were saying, James, you are this.
no,
And
I was trying
and
to
this
think
is
of a
how
good-
I generally feel about what you did to me.
No, no, not in the slightest. You read too much into it.
Okay, I mean, it was the very first line. It's like, hey, I had some ideas. Game's about being this. Like, hmm.
No,
Okay.
I just thought it would be fun to make a game where you're just an ass. Like, I had one for a bee, and then I had another one for, what was the other animal? Oh, a cat.
There was
A cat that drops
being a
shit on
cat.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were trying to basically say it. That was me.
No.
The other things that you put on the list, Joe, were very mostly generic, like genres, and these were very specific, like
Well, yeah, 'cause
what
I
you
wanted
would
to
do
get,
in
like,
the game. And so I was like, "There's a very big contrast here."
Oh, no. Those are just the first ones and, like, something that I was fleshing out a little bit more because I wanted to give context and, like, oh, you don't just play as a bee, you play as a nuisance, play as an asshole type of animal.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were basically saying. I was.
No,
So-
I'm not gonna subtly call you an asshole. If
Wow.
you're gonna act like one, I'll just tell you what you are. And I don't think at all you were acting like a jerk. Not in the slightest.
Okay. All right. Well, it's good to handle this on the air.
Yeah, you know. No, it's good to get communication. Or it's good. Communication is good. But yeah, it was a drastic change in the project. And so we stopped working on it, and then we started talking about it, and like what we were gonna do to move forward. And I was to come up with some game ideas, and they were supposed to kind of find something that we wanted to do. And it felt like James wanted me to come up with the game idea. Like, you wanted me to find the game idea.
Yeah, something you could start with conceptually. Yeah, something that jived with you, and instead of it being starting with me, I guess.
So do you think it's not possible for you to come up with an idea and not be lead on it, or?
No, I mean, if that's the task, I just, I wanted you to get some experience in the difficulty level that it really is sometimes to be a lead. I wanted you to see it. Realize that it wasn't just like, hey, I want to have something I'm in charge of. No, it's like, this is my skill set. That's really what I think.
Okay. Alrighty. Other than that, I didn't do a whole lot this week. I did some pixel art, which was a lot of fun. I stole some different perspectives from. It was from Stardew Valley. We stole some perspectives from that, and I learned how to do that perspective very quickly. I was really happy about that.
I'm glad.
It just makes sense in my head now. But yeah, it was an interesting week. if anything. I did end up doing work on the project while at work. I worked on the project, yeah, at work, which was cool. But I haven't done anything since our shelving of it and moving on to something else.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Well, I did a lot since we stopped working. Um,
nice. What'd you do?
I wrote it down. A lot. I wrote
Nice.
in novel. I wrote over 2,600 words in the last 2 days. Um,
Dang.
I've been working out every day. Um, I did repairs on my home that I haven't done in years. I took out sewing stuff and hand sewed some sweats that had holes in them. And
Dude,
um,
I bought this because I want
oh
to fix my
wow,
stuff.
nice. Um,
It was a sewing kit.
yeah, I've quite the sewing kit actually. I don't know where I got it,
Mine was
but
$9.
you get some serious sewing stuff at yard sales, I know. But yeah, I generally I have I don't know, flipped the switch. I guess our conversation was like I have not been living up to, the gifts I thought I was given. And I have been making a mockery of myself. I basically have taken everything that I thought I was, and I have not lived up to, you know, the expectations of myself. I feel like I've squandered a lot of years. I took everything for granted, um, and it was a. I had to take a hard look at myself and go, okay, well, you've made assumptions about the way everybody should be looking at you, and just taking it all for granted, it would all just work out, you know. Um, for so many years, that I said, I like a switch was just turned on. It's like, okay, it's not gonna happen anymore. I'm just gonna do it, and and that's what I've been doing. I've been like nonstop work. I've been like, I think there almost isn't. There's a little bit. Yesterday was a little bit of break. I did allow myself to relax and watch some football games, and just generally I listened to a lot of music. Made myself but even then I was working. I was listening to music and I was making a playlist to write with. I spent hours doing that, listening to songs I've never heard before. Um, and I could write with people screaming and talking and their words. I could still write in my novel while listening to that. I was like things that I had never even allowed myself to do. I was just like, I'm gonna do it. Um, it's been night and day. I and there's no going back. I won't allow myself. So
That's awesome.
it really is.
Congrats. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I try to steal from your experiences and see if I can do some of the same stuff, get some real work done and stuff that's exciting for me.
Yeah. Um, we question ourselves a lot, and I have to believe that what I have is for a reason. And and if I really believe that, then I should not be just assuming these things are just going to take care of themselves. I need to actually um, appreciate them and go from that kind of an attitude. Um, that's been, and I say it because there is a little bit of, you know embarrassment and humility here, but at the same time, it's been exciting. It's been
Mm-hmm.
just the stumbling blocks that I have had in the past. I mean, granted, it's only been a few days, okay, but now it's like, okay, I need to. It's easier. It's easier to keep on track right now. I guess I'll summarize it that way and say that, man, it's refreshing. Waking up and just wanting to do the things that you have always struggled, with, like working out, for instance. I mean, now it's just like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to become. This is going to change me, and just do it, and instead of doom scrolling for 2 hours on the couch, it's the first few hours are stretching. I It's like all these routines back from the past just kind of jumped up at me. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to start the same routine I did back in like judo class back when I was like a teenager and started, each knee sun shi, I was like all, you know, counting neck exercises and doing all these things. It was like it was all come together. And then I'm like, well, I've had problems with my house that I haven't done since I moved in. It's been years. What's stopping me? Do it. It just, and I've still made time for my family too. That's the different. That's because sometimes you feel like if you're going to be 100%, the other relationships and stuff are going to suffer. No, when they need something, when they want to do something, I just do it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to make this work. And I haven't even played a video game since this. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so. Let me dive into that with you. What do you think your driving factor is on this? Just like the realization that you want to get farther into your life, if you had to boil it down, and I know it's probably not possible to boil everything down into one little snippet, but it's probably a multitude of things. But what do you think is driving you the most?
Um, there was a big shock factor when you know, and it's not like this is like some huge thing in life, but this whole being basically said, well, what do you mean? You're not the lead, you know? Um, it made me think to myself, in what reality am I not the lead? You know, I was thinking, I'm like, and then I had to look at myself and go, you just assumed, like, you know, everybody in the world thought everything that you thought about yourself. You puffed up person, you. And, you know, then I had to go, well, one, you know, I had to go, well, dang, I I should be. First of all, I should be so good at my job that people just assume it. So then there's that you haven't been doing a good enough job, and then it was you have taken it all for granted. You and you've done it for so long. Then you know you've just assumed that you know the things that you just assumed were these God-given gifts would just materialize what by themselves. You didn't have to put any work in. You didn't have to actually use those skills. It would just fall in your lap. And so yeah, I've been taking them all for granted. And then that hit me too. It was like I've been squandering, you know, what I've been given. And and so I said, you know, I'm not gonna do that any longer. Now, whether anything I do, you know, whether any of I do is even, you know, some delusion of grandeur or what, um, you know, I have to assume that um, that this is a turning point for me, and and that I'm going to be a different person, and I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. Uh, and it's going to be a change that it's gonna change my life. So I don't know. I don't know if there was a single
Right.
boiled down thing or not, but
Right.
it was a change in me. That's what it is.
Okay. Well, cool. Um. So let's talk about goals this week. What are some of your goals this week?
I want to write a lot. I want to continue to get my life in order. I want to do projects that I've been putting off. I want to I want to actually take my playlist that I created and try to write to it. Um, I need to set up a photo shoot that I was going to do by myself while my wife's editing. I need to actually do that today. So I need to do up some business. Um, and I need to feel like, oh, and I want to maintain my workout and generally feel like I got my life even more in control. That's the way I want to feel at the end of the week.
Nice. For me this week, I want to keep working on drawing. I do still want to get stuff set up on Etsy, and then Been playing around a little bit with Unity, trying to figure out some things. Yeah. Alrighty. Do we have anything you want to say before we close it out here? All right. Well then, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with even more details about things and stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.